From the sublime to the ridiculous, as Rob joins us from Chicago, he's on tour with Manchester United. Rob, how are you? What's the plans then for the next couple of weeks for United?
Well, they're in Chicago right now, starting their training off on their tour of the United States. They've got a game against West Ham in New Jersey on Saturday, then it's back to Chicago for another game against Bournemouth, and then finish it off with a game in Atlanta against Everton. And really this entire trip is about Ruben Amorim, creating a clean slate for these players. Everyone will know how poorly last season went, and this summer really is about Ruben Amorim having a fresh start and getting Man United moving in the right direction again.
Good thing was, and Rob, plenty of room for everyone on the plane, given everyone who's been left behind.
Yeah, I don't think there was a shortage of seats on that plane, whether it's staff cuts or players left at home. I think everyone had a nice, comfortable seat on that plane. Garnacho, obviously, Malacia, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, all training on their own in Manchester. Very much at the moment, Ruben Amorim creating his own group, creating the squad that he wants to move forward with, and the players who are out of his project left at home and been told to find moves to other clubs.
He's obviously going to need additions. Ollie Watkins is the latest player, Rob, who has been linked to a move to United. What's the latest there? What's the thinking behind this?
Well, yeah, I mean, they certainly need a number 9. They've spent money to bring in Cunha from Wolves and Mbeumo from Brentford, but they're really number 10s in Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 system. They will add goals, but United still need a number 9, because really Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee just haven't shown they're good enough to fill that role so far. So they wanted Liam Delap. Obviously, Liam Delap then chose Chelsea. They looked at Gyökeres briefly. We think he's going to go to Arsenal. And now United are looking around for alternative targets, and Ollie Watkins is one of those. I don't think right now that's particularly advanced, but there have been conversations between Man United and people associated with Watkins, just to kind of find out what kind of financial conditions would be required to make that deal happen. I think there's a lot of those conversations going on with a lot of different targets. The one thing that we have been told from Man United is that there's no guarantee that there will be a new number 9 arriving before the transfer deadline. They have spent the bulk of their transfer budget on Cunha and Mbeumo. They need to get some of those players out, players we've just mentioned, Garnacho in particular, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, Tyrell Malacia. If they can do that and raise a little bit more money to boost the transfer pot, then possibly they could bring in a number 9. But I've just listened you have that whole conversation on Alexander Isak. Historically, Man United would go to the best teams in the Premier League and take their best players. I think it's very telling that Man United aren't even in the conversation for Isak, because they just can't get anywhere near that £150 million valuation. And that tells you how different Man United are having to operate now than perhaps they were doing under Sir Alex Ferguson 10 or 15 years ago. That's
a great point, isn't it, Mark? We were growing up and Manchester United could pretty much cherry pick the best players and bring them into the squad. They are so far away from that world now.
It's like Rob said, it's historical, it's history, it's way back when, isn't it? I mean, you're probably looking back 15 years, and they could offer Newcastle £300 million for Alexander Isak, and he wouldn't even consider going to Man United, because why would it? Why would he waste a couple of years of his career at Old Trafford when he can go to Anfield and maybe win everything next year? So, United do need a forward, and I think the club are trying to dampen expectations a bit with the fans and trying to kind of, urge them not to be carried away by the possibility of a number 9, but I think they'll get one in, because they were prepared to, go for Ekitike was one they looked at. They've explored Ollie Watkins. They're not exploring these transfers if they haven't got the money to buy them. So they will bring a forward in, but I just think they're trying to like I say, divert the attention of the fans a little bit. But we know that Amorim made it clear at the weekend he wants midfielders. So, they've got a lot of business to do. But I do think United get more business done because, well, let's be honest, they have to, don't they? They can't just go into the season with 2 new signings. But on the situation with they've got 5 number 10s now. Now, I think we get carried away sometimes by bracketing players in a certain position. Brian Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha can play in different roles. They're not just number 10s, they can play out wide, they can play through the middle. Wherever they play, if they play through the middle next season, either of them, they'll be better than Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee. A lot better. So, United have upgraded that position already. They haven't got a specialist in yet, but they've got players who will score more goals than the players that they had last season. So, I do think they need to look around the pitch now and get priorities dealt with elsewhere, especially in midfield, because you can have the best strikers in the world. If you can't win the ball and keep it in midfield, you're not going to score many goals. And that is the issue that's obvious right now that United need to address.
Random thought about this preseason of Manchester United, and I just saw the schedule there. What is the purpose of you coming over here to play mid-table to lower third teams West Ham, Bournemouth, Everton. It also kind of tells you where Manchester United are.
Money, Ali. Money.
Yes,
Money, Ali.
yes. It's
Money, absolutely.
It's desperation, is what it is. You're chasing it.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of coming all the way over here to play teams that you're going to play in a month from now? I just don't see it. And Manchester United, I think they still are, but they used to be a huge brand that wherever they show up, everybody else wanted to show up to play against them. Now they're having to settle on West Ham, again, Bournemouth and Everton.
I've had enough of your Everton and West Ham and Bournemouth.
Oh, I'm
bashing
sorry.
out.
My bad.
But Ali brings up a good point. When I've been with Manchester United before, when they were on these pre-season tours, you've got hundreds of fans waiting outside the hotel to get autographs, to get photos of the players. Has that been diluted by their lack of success over the last couple of seasons, Rob?
I mean, it's interesting that you should say that, because actually there's a few of us that went down to the team hotel in Chicago on Tuesday when they arrived. And we've been to, me and Mark have been on pre-season tours to the Far East before. We've been to America before. And, we've seen these hotels absolutely mobbed by Man United fans waiting for pictures and autographs. And actually on Tuesday night, it was relatively late. It was about 9 p.m. in Chicago. But there was only a handful of fans. There was actually more police cars there than there were fans waiting for the team to arrive. I think it has been diluted a little bit. I mean, United are still a massive football club. They're still a massive brand. They would say themselves that they feel that they're on a level of, the Liverpool, Real Madrid, in terms of kind of profile within world football. But I think it has been diluted a little bit, particularly because it's been so long since they've had any real success. They have won the odd cup competition since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, but they haven't been anywhere near winning the Premier League. They haven't qualified for the Champions League in many seasons, let alone get very far and try to win it. So, I think maybe the interest and the kind of the enthusiasm for Man United has dampened a little bit. And it'll be very interesting to see what kind of crowds United get for these pre-season games, particularly because we've just had a Club World Cup here. All the best teams in the world have just been and gone. And football fans, soccer fans have had the opportunity to see the likes of Man City, Real Madrid, PSG, Chelsea, these massive teams. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of crowds Man United get, particularly when they start against West Ham in New Jersey, because obviously MetLife is a huge stadium. It takes an awful lot to fill that stadium, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of crowds they get.
And who are your superstars now? Who is your kind of poster boy for Manchester United, Mark? Well, not you, obviously.
I was going to say Rob was waiting outside the hotel. Maybe they wait to see Rob and his mates.
Yeah.
But, who's the superstar at Man? Who's the superstar at Man United? It's a good point. Let's be honest. Liverpool right now are the coolest, most exciting team in the Premier League by some distance. That used to be Man United. And I remember Ed Woodward maybe 10 or 12 years ago when United had that really bad season, the first season after Ferguson left, and it was David Moyes. Ed Woodward was basically saying, don't worry about it, we're Man United. Liverpool have been rubbish for 30 years and they're still a huge club. And that was right, but the game's changed so much in the last decade. It's now about star players. It's more about star players and teams in many ways. Fans latch onto the players. And United haven't gotten it. I mean, Marcus Rashford, ironically, is one of their biggest names, and he's not performed for 2 years, but they are losing one of their so-called biggest brand names by letting him go to Barcelona. I guess it'll be people like Mateus Cunha. Garnacho is a big figure, but he didn't perform either. But you're looking across the road at Liverpool, it's Mo Salah, it's Florian Wirtz, it's all these superstar players, Virgil van Dijk. United have got nothing like that. And that was what they used to be 15, 20 years ago. That's gone. And they're building now from ground zero in terms of building up their brand again. And they can't rely on the past for too much longer to be the kind of calling card, because the new generation of fans, I mean, if you're a kid supporting a Premier League team now, it's 12 years since Man United won the league. Kids don't know. You'd have to be mid-20s to know the last time United won the league. So there's a generation of fans that have grown up knowing only success for Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. And United's got to be aware of that, because if they're not, they will fall further behind. They'll become an Everton or an Aston Villa, and that is a scary thought for a club like Man United.
Oh, I'm sure this show's really cheered them up. 10 minutes on Liverpool, 10 minutes on bashing United. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, Rob. Much appreciated, guys. Just a reminder, you can keep an eye on all of Manchester United's transfer action on Transfer Talk, which is available over on our website.